this is as good as it's going to get between my hair and the camera quality and this shirt. It looks like I am coming to you straight from the 80s, but it is in fact the year of our Lord 2020, the year of the Great Apocalypse. And it is now the beginning of September, which means it's time to do a wrap up for August, which I'm really excited about because I've made it into a game. You might be like, Lauren, not this again. Like, book jail never worked back in the day. Why on earth would a new game work? And I'll tell you why. Because I drew a map. So let's get screen share on the go. I drew this map because I was bored, basically. And it's just a cute little fairy tale map with a trail on it. So how it works is you get off your ship onto the land of TBR Trail, and every dot is a book, and every 10 dots is bigger, because for some reason that makes me feel like I've achieved something when I've read 10 books. My current TBR is actually like 60 books, but I've put 100 dots on here because, well, we know that I will be buying more books. I was thinking about trying to institute a book buying ban, but then I remembered it's mine and Jessie's anniversary this month, so I will be asking for books. So a book buying ban isn't going to work for me. So I've been realistic, there's plenty more. You'll be like, hey Lauren, X marks the spot, what's going on over there? I'm guessing if I read 100 books I'm going to give myself a prize. This is so not well thought out. I just wanted a visual because, like, I find wrap-ups a bit dry. Like, there's loads of TBR games you can play. I've seen people spinning wheels. Like, I'm doing one that's tarot card related. Like, there's so many fun ways to do a TBR, but to do a wrap-up is hard for me. It's hard work. So I've made it cute, and you'll all have to live with that. In terms of my reading for this month, I didn't think I'd done that well, but then when I gathered the books to put next to me, there's quite a few. Like, I've had an excellent reading month. So as you can see, we get off our ship and go to our first dot, and that's our first book, which is Disobedience by Naomi Alderman. I actually read this while I was in Edinburgh still, so I was reading this on the train on the way back, and I read it all in one go. I did not enjoy it. I think I gave it 2 stars. It is about a woman who has kind of become secular in her life. She's from a Jewish community. She has moved from London to New York and is doing it. She is out, being a businesswoman in New York and not letting anything define her, which, to me is the goal when you come from religion. And basically her dad is really famous Rav, which is apparently a kind of very religious figure within Judaism, and he dies and she has to go back home for the funeral, and all these very important people in the community kind of are around her, but she isn't welcomed into her own dad's funeral because she's known as a bit of a troublemaker and because she left, and also she's a lesbian. When our main lass comes home, the dikery continues and they get found out and it becomes this whole thing, and it kind of all culminates in the final memorial for the Rav. The reason I gave this such a low rating, even though there were spicy lesbians in it, was because I find religion in books to be suffocating. I hate it. I just can't understand. I just can't understand why anyone would be a part of these horrendous institutions that, cause so much pain for so many people. And I understand that's coming from someone who has had a secular upbringing. What it did make me realise, though, is how little we were actually taught about Judaism in the UK, and we have massive Jewish communities who it almost feels like, because we don't know anything about, we can't communicate with. That's the cat coming off the windowsill. So it was very eye-opening because I thought I'd been educated to a reasonable degree about kind of major religions in the world by school. No, school does not give a single fuck about what you know and do not know. Next, I read Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman, and it is signed. There was a hot minute where Waterstones lost my card details, I had to reorder it. and I didn't know if I'd get a signed version. So Nick and Charlie follows Nick and Charlie, two characters who were initially introduced into Alice Oseman's world in her first novel. They were supporting characters. And then Alice was like, let me tell these boys stories, and she is writing a graphic novel collection about these boys and how they got together and how they fell in love. And I am Alice Oseman's bitch. Like, whatever she does, I will stan it. Incredible, 5 stars, loved it. It takes just a moment of time where Nick is about to go off to university and Charlie is a year younger, so he is going to get left behind, and it's all about kind of the internal struggle Charlie is having with the thought of just being left when Nick is so excited to go, and then he also feels like a crap boyfriend because shouldn't he be excited for Nick as well? What did I read next? Next I DNF'd a book, and I am going to count these as dots because it is still a book that's coming off my TBR. So I DNF'd Gentleman Lane's Border Districts because of religion. Like, I had just come out of Disobedience and I was like done with religion. I didn't want anything with religious overtones. I was like, no, thank you. And I wasn't particularly enjoying his descriptive style even. I was trying to remove myself from the content and just think about it theoretically. And even the style I was like really not enjoying. Did not give a shit, basically. And I don't think I'm ever going to read it in the future. Like, there's no way I'm going to get past the point I got to. Next, I read something that wasn't on my TBR, which was Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I'd never really intended to read this series. We found a really good deal to get the full box set quite cheap. And Jessie was like, hey, that sounds quite interesting. I was like, yeah, it's got good reviews. Why don't you pick it up? So we got them, and I read it first, and oh my god, incredible, life-changing, 5 stars, adored it. It is the story of a utopia where nobody dies, nobody gets ill, nobody ages, but obviously that leads to overpopulation. So scythes come in and basically kill people to keep the population in order. And we follow 2 new recruits who become apprentice scythes, kind of against the will, and how they come to terms with the fact of killing in a world where most people will never die. And then you kind of get a glimpse into all of this corruption, and it's just chef's kiss, but my hand is busy with all this stuff. Next, let's talk about The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. On this channel, in a lot of the videos that are still up and a lot of the videos that were removed, I talk about fucking hating Margaret Atwood and thinking that, like, she could do a little poo and she would get the man booker for it. And it really reached fever pitch when in 2019 the Man Booker Prize was like, hey, it's our most fundamental rule that we don't do joint prizes, and it's obvious that Bernardine Evaristo deserves a prize, but we can't not give it to Margaret Atwood, so let's split it. And it just infuriated me. And since then I've been on like a vitriolic rant against Margaret Atwood. If she's ever mentioned that, just go off. Because I thought The Handmaid's Tale was shit. And I'm not going to apologise for that. I think it's a terrible book. So Jessie picked all of my TBR for this month. Jessie loves The Handmaid's Tale, so Jessie was like, I know what I'm going to make you do, bitch. You are going to read The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. Yes. Yes, Lauren, you are. And yes, Lauren did. I got it off Audible. I have yet to return it to Audible, but it was not a useful use of my time, so it will be going back. Basically, my issue with it was, it's supposedly a sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. It kind of felt more like a retconning of The Handmaid's Tale. Like, everything that was crap about The Handmaid's Tale, she was like, oh, but that didn't really happen, because this person was actually secretly good the whole time. Like, oh, don't do that. Don't retcon your own story. Let's talk about the other audiobook I listened to, which is why this book is still in its plastic wrapping. Actually, you know what? I'm taking it out of this because it's being read now. If I don't take it out, I never will. But it is so beautiful. I always just want to protect it. Come on. I know you don't want to come out anyway. There you go. The Milkman by Anna Burns in this beautiful Liberty and Faber edition? Yeah, Faber and Liberty. The Milkman won the Man Booker in 2018, and as I've mentioned, I also have a vendetta against the Man Booker. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna read it. And I decided to pick up the audiobook because it was free at my library, and I already had so many physical books to read this month that I was like, yeah, let's crack on with Milkman. You know what? I really enjoyed it. Irish stream of consciousness novels. Normally we struggle with them. I think I got like 3 pages into James Joyce's books and gave up. So when I realised this was going to be a bit stream of consciousness, I was like, oh. But I really enjoyed this. I've given it 5 stars. It follows a nameless narrator who is a young kind of 18-year-old girl in Ireland during the Troubles, and it's about a man stalking her and everyone in the community assuming that she's taken up with this man because he wants her to, and kind of the effects that has on her mental health, on the relationship with the boy she's kind of seeing, on the relationship with her mother, and how kind of rumours spread in that really tense kind of environment, and how nobody really sees violence against women unless she ends up dead from it. So the fact that she's being stalked, like, no one believes, because like, who would just stalk a woman without doing anything to her? And it's all of like the minutiae of this community and all of like the little odd groups of people and the odd traits people have. It dragged a little bit in some places, I will not lie. You do go down some particular tangents that you come back to again and again, but on the whole, the level of like unease and creepiness it managed to get across, and also just like the texture of that life in that time, incredible, absolutely stunning. Did deserve a major award, so you know, maybe the investigation of the Man Booker needs to continue. So this week I actually challenged myself to read as many women in translation books as possible, and I actually vlogged that, and it'll be coming out soon. So the next stack of books I all read in the space of a week, and I'm very proud of myself. So the first book I read, from the recommendation of Michael, because he's read most of the books that I was hoping to read this month, was Notes of a Crocodile. I forgot to look up these authors' names. We're going to roll with it. Notes of a Crocodile by Xi Jin, translated by Bonnie Huey. I think in Chinese a Q is pronounced like a sh. Might be wrong. It's been a long time since I've done that level of linguistics. This is about a lesbian at university, so again, you would think, Lauren, right up your alley. I did really, overall, really enjoy this book, but, where do I even start? Okay, let's talk about the good things. I enjoyed the fact that she barely ever went to university, because, like, relatable. I enjoyed how the novel was almost 2 separate entities as one. It was the story of our narrator falling in love, going to uni, talking to people, you know, having a shit time. But then we also get this crocodile element, and it's like, crocodiles are these weird, unearthly creatures who live in skin suits of humans, who pass among us, and are just fundamentally othered from society. And all the way through, I was like, what do the crocodiles represent? The Illuminati? The gays? Like, what do they represent? And it kind of reminded me of Grief is a Thing with Feathers by Max Porter, in that kind of, you don't even know if this animal is even there, if it's even real, you don't know what it's meant to represent, it's just weird and it's present. And it's like, oh, okay, we can roll with that. What I did not like is it's got one of my least favourite tropes in it, which is, you know, 2 people get together and then one of them is like, well, we're going to break up one day anyway because I am awful, so I will save us both the pain and I will break up with you right now. And I hate it. Like, I cannot explain how much I hate that trope. And then she proceeds to spend the rest of the novel pining after this last that she was like, do one, too. Like, she broke up with her. She spent the whole novel being like, ooh, if only I could have sex with this girl. It's like, I was having like a real problem understanding it, and then it clicked. this is an asexual thing. Like, in my mind, it's like, if you both want to, like, do the do, go do the do. Like, I love the yearning. The yearning in fanfic, in books and TV. Excellent. My favourite thing. But, like, this, like, oh, I've hurt us to save us hurting each other more. Like, it's like, oh, God, get over yourself and bang. And so in the end, I gave it 4 stars. But, like, it kind of dragged because that trope was, like, the entire plot. I know for anyone else, that wouldn't be a problem. It is a 5-star book for anyone else, but for me, I just didn't enjoy it enough. Then I read a book which I wasn't expecting to be a lesbian-y book, but it was, and it was The Adventures of China Iron by Gabriela Cabezon Camara, translated by Fiona McIntosh and Iona McIntyre. I think this might be one of the first South American translated books I have ever read. I certainly can't remember another one that I've read, and it is set in Argentina, and oh my god, it's good. It's so good. 5 stars, incredible. It is about a girl that grows up very impoverished on Anastasia, which I'm assuming is kind of like a colonial estate owned by Europeans. And one day, the Argentinian army basically comes and drafts all the men on the Anastasia, including her husband and the husband of a British woman who is taken when he shouldn't be because he's English and he shouldn't be going to the Argentinian army. So these 2 women set off across the desert to go and reclaim the husbands. Like, our main gal China isn't really that bothered about getting a husband back. She's just like, yeah, sure, let's go for a journey. These dykes and the dog go across the desert, falling in love, seeing the natural wonders of Argentina, and they make a friend who has cows, and he comes along with them with all his cows, and then they go and, like, join an indigenous tribe, and, like, the things that are done with language and the intention behind this translation is incredible. There's a whole translator's note in the back about how they decided to keep the native dialogue and not change it to Spanish and then to English, because it's supposed to be, like, othering at first, and you're supposed to kind of acclimatise to it naturally, as our characters did, and just like, oh, amazing. This might be one of my favourite books ever. I've had such a good month for reading. And yet, there are some spicy bits in here. Like, they don't last particularly long, but, like, they're shocking what these lasses are getting up to in the space of half a page, and it's just back to normal. It's like, oh, okay, sure. Spring Garden. Done it again, by Tomoka Shibasaki, translated by Polly Barton. Yeah, it's a Polly Barton. Loved it. It is about these people who live in a condemned building, and they just basically need to move out and the building's going to get knocked down. But it's opposite this really weird Western style mansion that's blue, and it's got loads of weird stuff going on in the garden. And one of the residents has a photo book that was published decades before, of the house when it was first built and the artists who lived there, and she is, like, obsessed with this house because it was, like, such a formative part of her own journey to becoming an artist, and she's desperate to get inside. And so when a new family moves in, she befriends them and she drags our narrator Taro kind of into it as well. It was a very brief book. It was 150 pages, but I felt like I got a snapshot into the lives of all the people in the block, of the people who lived in the houses, and it was just really nice. Like, I had a little cup of mango green tea, and I read this, and I was, like, thoroughly de-stressed from work. The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa, I think translated by Stephen Schneider. Yes. 5 stars, incredible. As you might guess from the title, it's about a housekeeper and a professor. The professor has had an accident and traumatic brain injury in the past, which means that his memory only lasts in chunks of 80 minutes. So if something happened an hour and a half ago, he won't remember it. So he has got this, like, comprehensive system of, like, pinning notes to himself to remind himself of important things, and every day the housekeeper turns up, he doesn't remember who she is, and he doesn't remember that she has a son who he gets on really, really well with and that he loves spending time with. And it's all about kind of the challenges in learning to befriend someone who is going to forget you and it's going to be starting again the next day. And it was just beautiful. The professor was a professor of mathematics, and the way that maths was described in this book, like, me and maths don't get on. It's not a thing we do, but this was just stunning. The way that maths was talked about, it made me understand it. It made me see the beauty in it, which is something I've not done before. And it's also about kind of learning to let go, because obviously the professor's quite an elderly man with a lot of mental health issues and, you know, physical, neurological issues. And it kind of lets you know from the beginning that our time with the professor isn't timeless, you know, it's finite. And it was just handled with such grace and such dignity and such beauty. Oh, that was our 10th book. I read more than 10 books this month. That's insane. We've still got a couple more to go. This is the Nakano Thrift Shop by Hiromi Kawakami, who also wrote Strange Weather in Tokyo, which I read earlier this year. Didn't enjoy that one very much. It was a bit creepy. Thankfully this one was less creepy, but only just. Like, there was a lot of men taking pornographic photographs and showing them to young women. But it is about the three people who work in a thrift shop in Tokyo and kind of how their lives intersect, how they kind of become muddled up in each other's lives by meeting each other's brothers and sisters and kind of going out on dates. And it was just nice. Like, I don't really have a lot to say about this one. It was 3 stars. Next up, we have our last book, and she's a chonk. Tip in the Velvet by Sarah Waters. I'm on the verge of becoming a Sarah Waters stan because, guys, the lesbians were at it. Sorry. It's literally all I care about in this book. We follow the story of Nancy, who is just like a hard working class gal from Whitstable, who gets swept up in the glamour of an actress who comes to town, who takes her back to London, and kind of, she's a very innocent girl who very quickly has to become worldly. She ends up on her own, having to fend for herself. There is a lot in here about homophobia, prostitution, a weird BDSM kind of relationship, the first ever dildo. It is heartbreaking. Like, the first 180 pages of this book, I was like, the flavour is incredible. These two soft girls in love. Something is going to go very wrong because it's a beast of a book. Like, it can't be this happy now if it's going to stay happy. And I was correct. A lot of this was heartbreaking. A lot of it was heartbreaking. You can tell from my smile, this is a 5-star book. This is probably one of my new favourite books. So actually, I've done very well to have 3 new maybe favourites in a month. That's insane. Look how far we've got on that map. I am so proud of myself. Let me just hold up this pile because it is mad. And obviously there is a book missing because I don't have a physical copy of the Testaments because I'd rather die. Look at all the books I read in 1 month! Ah! So this was like an insanely good reading month for me. I hope I can keep it up. Or at least not go back to like 1 book a month, which was what a lot of lockdown was looking like. Again, I apologise for my phone being crap and put me behind like a milk filter. You know, that's how we roll on this channel. I hope you had a really nice month. I hope next month is as productive for you as I hope it is for me. And I will see you again very soon. Bye.